So my first Median XL video was kind of a test, and I want to thank you guys for all the feedback. I ended up not only dying on that character, but I got stuck in a few places and kind of messed up the video, so we're going to start over on a Druid this time. And if you didn't see that video, basically the premise is I cannot choose a build until I find a unique, and then I have to make the build around that unique. And along the way, if I do die, I have to drop my highest level required piece of equipment. We started with 1500 gold, and I bought a throwing axe, which I think is the best level 1 weapon. And I remembered at Geed you can gamble for them. We didn't get any good modifiers here though, unfortunately. 3 life on kills, basically nothing. With my Amazon character, I got like 8 life on hit on a dagger. That being said, we do find an L rune in the Den of Evil, and with that we can make a really nice throwing axe rune word, which is not considered a unique, so we can't choose any spells yet. And at level 6 we may be able to take Blood Raven here, which I was not able to do in my previous runs. If we can do this, we get an overpowered bow mercenary. She does do quite a bit of damage though, especially for this level, so we got to be very careful. And I cannot get surrounded by her minions, which is easier said than done. She's got a ton of them. She keeps raising them as well. I was able to go back to the rogue encampment, and Inkara's selling a level 7 chest piece, meaning that if we die, we will drop that and not the rune word. So we're going to quickly farm the mausoleum to get level 7, and we can also find some gold in here as well. It's a good farming spot next to Blood Raven. We found a tier rune here as well, and we can make a crossbow rune word out of that. I'm not sure if the bow mercenary can use it, but if she can, then she'd be pretty imbalanced. And I could potentially use that for myself if we do have to drop this weapon, which hopefully that won't be the case. I don't see myself dying in here, but it could happen. Okay, so we got level 7, equipped the chest piece, and this thing reduces physical damage done by 8, which I'm not sure if that makes us immune to damage right now. It seems like a lot though for this level. Or I'm taking a bit from Blood Raven, but I don't think I'm taking anything from like the normal mobs, which is pretty cool. Sometimes you get crazy modifiers like that where, yeah, for this level, I think that's a ton. Still could die to Blood Raven though. Like, I'll show you guys me fighting these dudes, and it keeps showing my guy getting hit. He keeps making a sound that he's getting hit, but he's not taking damage. It might still be able to stun lock though, like I said, so I gotta be a bit careful. Zombies might be able to do damage too. Not much though, I think. This is kind of wild. Just run at Blood Raven, I guess. She does have lifesteal, so you gotta be careful. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. And there we go. Alright, so we got the mercenary who's pumping out a ton of damage. I'm pretty much immune to damage unless it's magical damage. The bow mercenary unfortunately cannot use crossbows as well, so we're not going to be able to equip her with a nice bow unless we find another rune for it. From this fight, we actually find our second tier rune, and we can use this to make the rune word that gives you the staff that allows you to blink. That's important because the mercenary gets stuck very often. As we're heading to the top of the Forgotten Tower, we find another L rune, and we can use this to make Enlightenment, a really good glove rune word. Just get some nice all-around bonus stats. And at the top of the Forgotten Tower, right before Countess, we find an Eld rune that can be used to make any weapon rune word. If we put a jewel before it into the superior short bow. Before we do that though, I want to see what Countess drops in terms of her runes, because she could have a bow rune word that would be potentially better for the mercenary, and we don't need help to kill her. Like you can see, it's not a hard fight. From her we do get an Eld rune, plus we get 2 L's and a soul. The soul's a level 33 rune, and we won't be using that for a while. And yeah, I think the best option is just put this jewel in, which increases minimum damage by 1, and the Eld rune to make this bow rune word shark, or any weapon rune word. This is a chance to cast Bloodlust on kill, which I think increases both of our damage. Yeah, we can now just watch her basically solo content for us. Pretty sure she can just solo Andariel, and she is able to solo Andariel. She's in the other room while I'm just kind of hiding. Going into this fight, we're severely underleveled. I think we're level 11 and the area's level 17, and that's because on this playthrough I'm using a program that unlocks all the waypoints, which is not necessarily going to make the game easier, because while you're walking to new waypoints, you're constantly killing mobs, you're getting XP, and if you're underleveled in zones, it's going to be a lot harder. So from a hardcore, you know, I don't want to die perspective, unlocking all the waypoints is not going to do me any favors. On the contrary, it's actually going to make the game harder in a lot of ways, and I think it might be more interesting if we're trying to fight a level 17 zone, for example, as a level 12. And so as we progress, we'll be doing more of that. Also, going into this fight, I've spent 4 of our skill points on skills you're going to want to have for pretty much any build. Well, maybe not infected roots. It just says AoE poison damage, so I guess it doesn't have any synergy with other abilities. And then harvest as well does some AoE poison damage. It's not a skill that we're going to be using for other builds, but bark skin increases life and defense. We're definitely going to want this for any build. And when choosing abilities from the skill tree, it doesn't lock us out of any of their skill trees, so that's why I invested points into this. Andariel does drop a unique, but unfortunately it's a sorceress only chest piece, so we can't choose a spec just yet. I then try to progress in a level 22 zone as a level 14, and the XP does not seem worth it for how hard these mobs are to kill. If we compare it to a zone around our level where we can actually kill stuff, not only do we get XP, but we can farm Andariel for uniques to potentially unlock a build. Unfortunately, I do get a bit greedy here, thinking that we're safe because the poison ran out, and bam, we get hit by our AoE fire attack, which I still don't understand how it works. Randomly, you'll take fire damage if you're too close to to her, but I wasn't in the room, so I don't know. Because of that death, I dropped the highest level item, which is this belt rune word that gives elemental resistance and spell damage, and those stats were helping a bit, but I regretted not turning that Atherin into this Amazon bow rune word, which would have boosted the mercenary stats by quite a bit, but either way, it's not a huge loss. And I believe it was 15 we unlocked this ability, Devouring Cloud, which has decent range and damage. I only put 1 point into it, but it says level 3 because we have 2 items increasing skill level by 1 now. We do eventually kill Andariel again, and this time she drops the same chest piece, but on the third one she drops a tiara, which has cold and fire damage. It does require dex though, and if we wanted to upgrade it to higher tiers, we would need to go pretty heavy into dex, and I know bows require dex, so our first build is going to be a bow build. With a bow build, you use steady shot, which increases all skill levels until you use another attack, and the next attack will be cascade, which is a massive AoE. If you don't use steady shot first, cascade will do less bonus fire damage, so theoretically you want to alternate between the two. In practice though, I found steady shot not even really to be necessary, as spamming cascade seems to be doing way more DPS than alternating between the two, and I even have steady shot quick bound at Q, so I can very quickly alternate between the two without having to swap out spells, but it didn't seem to increase DPS, so I don't even think I'm going to use steady shot that much. I was about to save quit out of here because I thought the mercenary's ability was Duriel's AoE, but then I realized it was not, so I YOLO'd it, and if I did die here we would have had to drop this chest piece, but it's just an Ith rune word. I don't have another Ith right now, but it's only a level 18 rune, so it's not that big of a deal. And Duriel dropped his helmet that's pretty tanky, but the one we're using gives quite a bit of damage. Speaking of damage in Act 3, we find this really nice unique bolt quiver that adds 100 poison damage over 2 seconds. If we want to use bolts as ammo, we have to combo them with the crossbow, and they use strength not dex, so we're kind of deviating from the original plan. We do get a huge damage increase over what we were using though, mainly thanks to the quivers, so we're going to try to make a build around that. And our damage is so high now that we have no problem doing the Tran Athalua challenge for the trinket at level 43, which is 17 levels lower than what the zone suggests. We now also have a melee mercenary to tank and a bear that I don't put points into, as you only get more HP for putting points into it, and 9k HP is plenty. It also has a chance per attack to give you this buff, which gives you a ton of HP regen. You're basically immune to damage while the buff's up. Going through this zone, I was already feeling pretty immune to damage with that quiver's insane HP regen, and I thought maybe my HP was bugged, so I tried to tank a ton of these guys at once. And no, it's not bugged, but that much HP regen seems pretty overpowered, and that leads me to an idea for the next episode. We have enough arcane crystals to craft tier 3 versions of these uniques, and they have a ton of HP regen. I'm wondering if I can just run through mobs in Nightmare in Hell.